Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining our presentation on how you can leverage your investment in Cityworks, PLL, and Bluebeam. We're going to talk a lot about your current investment in the technologies today and how ProjectDox can enable even greater efficiencies around the electronic plan review process. I'm Paul Goslin. I'm the Director of Sales at Avolve Software. I'll be taking you through a little bit of an overview of our company and our customer base and what we've done around Cityworks and ProjectDox. And then my solution consultant, John Enfield, will take us through a demonstration of ProjectDox and the application. He'll walk you through the benefits of ProjectDox and the electronic plan review capabilities associated with how it interacts with Cityworks and Bluebeam. Before we get into the demonstration today, I just wanted to stop and talk a little bit about Avolve Software. So Avolve was the founder of electronic plan review. We pioneered electronic plan review about 15 plus years ago. And really our commitment was to enable transparency across the electronic plan review process. And our goal in doing this was to ensure that any jurisdiction that needed to move to electronic plan review could take advantage of Avolve Software. And one of the biggest testaments in our company portfolio is that our technology is very scalable, meaning that we have customers as small as Vail, Colorado, and we scale our customer base all the way up through cities like Miami and Chicago. The big point is that even though you're a small city or a large city, you're still going to run the same best-in-class workflows that we're going to talk about today. So when we look at Avolve and we look at our company and where we've gone these last 15 years, we're now a really robust company with over 150 plus cities, counties, states within the US and Canada using our technologies. But more importantly to you, we've got 1,000 plus workflows deployed and over 100 million reviews and buildings processed through ProjectDox. ProjectDox was really designed for various reasons, but it can be broken down into these 3 or 4 bullet points. ProjectDox is a process automation tool for electronic plan review. One of the main components that you'll find within ProjectDox is we've got a robust document and revision management solution, which John will demonstrate today throughout the process. But really what our technology was designed for was really designed for the collaboration and transparency of electronic plan review between the applicant and the city or jurisdiction that's doing the plan review. One of the things that we'll talk about throughout this entire presentation is ProjectDox is not a departmental specific application. The technology was designed to be spread throughout the entire enterprise of your jurisdiction. So we're going to focus a lot today on the building workflow and how we've helped to automate the building process around electronic plan review. But please note that we have built workflows that work within planning and fire, public works, engineering, really anywhere that there's a plan review associated with a permit application or an application type, we've built a workflow around it that can enable electronic plan review. One of the key features of ProjectDox, which John will show today, really revolves around 2 areas, the applicant and the reviewer. And so what we're going to talk about today is how ProjectDox enables collaboration and transparency for the applicant and for the reviewers. And those are the ways that we know that we can streamline the electronic plan review process. Last but not least, we'll talk about how ProjectDox alongside Bluebeam can enhance the plans examiner's experience throughout the entire process. And a lot of the things that ProjectDox brings to the table on top of Bluebeam is being able to do document management, which is file submission, file management, and versioning, along with collaboration of the correction. So really being able to generate the corrections list outside of Bluebeam so that you and your applicants have a way to interact around the corrections. One of our joint customers of success is Carmel, Indiana. Carmel, Indiana is a city of around 100,000 in population, and they've deployed both of our technologies across their enterprise. And they've been running our technology for about a year now. And really what it's helped them to do is provide an intuitive applicant interface it's allowed them to automate their building and planning process. And then more importantly, it's reduced the cycle time of plan review because now they have an automated corrections dashboard along with a revision management application that we'll show you here. In talking with Carmel, as they've deployed their technology, they will tell you that before ProjectDox and even before Cityworks, they were doing things in a paper-based, non-automated fashion, and they've been able to reduce their cycle times from 4 all the way down into 2 and to 1. And so they've gained some great efficiencies using the technologies that we're going to show today. Well, that's what I wanted to share with you today around the overview of Avolve and a basic concept of ProjectDox. But the proof is really in the pudding. So I'm happy to invite John Enfield here to just walk us through the application and show us where we can enable more greater efficiencies between Cityworks, Bluebeam, and ProjectDox.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Going to share my screen here. And right there, here we go. I want to set the stage before we start out today. I'm going to wear the hats of multiple people today. I'll be wearing the hat of an applicant, of a permit tech, a plan reviewer, and probably a coordinator as well. So I'll be sure to let you know which hat I'm wearing at the time. But we're going to focus first on the applicant experience. This is going to be the experience had by your architects, your contractors, your developers, even your homeowners, right, who want to submit perhaps just one time in 10 years or one time in a lifetime. We want to be able to make sure that our application is easy for everyone to use. To that end, we had a lot of work put into our newest release in 9.2 here for the applicant as well as for the plan reviewers, okay? Now, what happened so far is the applicant has already applied through public access, the portal for Cityworks, right? Once they've completed that portal experience and applied for that permit online, the integration then communicates from Cityworks to ProjectDox, and that starts a project already. That workflow starts. And to make sure we're all on the same page with our workflows, we don't replace any work you've already done with your current workflows inside Cityworks. You keep those workflows. We run as a sub-workflow to your existing ones. Okay, so there's no need to trash what you've already done. We keep your existing workflow and we'll run right underneath it. Okay, all the way through plan review until it's approved. Once it's done, we let Cityworks know all the way through what's happened in terms of updates, who's approved it, what time and date, which groups, etc. And then Cityworks takes it after it's been approved all the way to its end of its workflow. Perhaps that could be permit issuance or COO, whatever that might be. Okay. All right, well, let's start here. We're at the applicant experience now where they need to upload their drawings and documents. You'll notice, first of all, these task instructions, steps 1 to 3, 2 to 3, and 3 to 3. Notice also the Learn How links right here. We have 2 of them embedded in our form here to help the applicant learn their task. Now, I won't go through it, but it's a video. This one's only 1 minute long, but it talks about how to do your tasks, okay? Make sure you go through steps 1 first, then step 2, then step 3. And this is a different video, how to upload your drawings and files. So we've embedded these videos to help your team, your applicants, your contractors, your homeowners learn how to do their task, which will reduce the calls that you get on your side from a jurisdiction point of view, okay? Now, in terms of uploading drawings, it's very simple. The applicant will just browse their folder structure and point to the location they want to bring in, and perhaps they want to bring in these 5 files here. I can do a whole batch, a whole 100 files at once, or just 1 or 2. We do batch uploads, okay? Now notice what's happening right here. We can enable, if you desire, a policy check to happen at this time on the client system regarding these files coming in from the applicant. You'll see 2 of them are good. These 2 right here, they got a green check. There are other 3 or 4 that don't quite fit the policy that you might have set forth from your jurisdiction guidelines. Okay, maybe this file doesn't fit the format. It's a GIF file. You can turn on or off to accept GIFs. It's up to you, but you can do that. This one's not rotated the right way. The sheet size isn't quite right, and this naming convention didn't fit your guidelines. So what we're showing you here is the ability to check these files as they come in before you ever get them on the jurisdiction side. If this check is happening on the client, they can remove Get Report. At this point, they can download that report right here, and they can see what is wrong with this file right here. These files, these 4 have issues. Here is a legend explaining what's wrong with those files. They can resolve it and then bring in those new files as well in this upload, okay? So after they do that, we then upload those files. It becomes inside the drawings folder now. You see we've got 16 new files, 3 documents. They click on the checkbox and hit submit, okay? That will get them to the next phase in the workflow, which will be the pre-screen step, okay? Now, I won't go over the pre-screen step. I'm gonna change hats now. We've completed our upload process for the applicants, and now we're going into the process for the jurisdiction, okay? You're getting your first look inside ProjectDox right here. You've got a projects tab on the top left and a tasks tab. The projects tab gives you a quick access to your projects, whether it's your files, whether it's your status, might be your task list on each project. In fact, a common use of this screen right here might be a caller calls in and saying, my project's taking way too long. What's the hold up? Why is it taking, so long? Well, the person at this stage, the pre-screener or the coordinator, can look up that project, say it's on Flood Street, right? They pull up the project, and within a couple clicks right here, just one click, they see the task at hand is currently with the applicant right down here. The current non-completed task is with the applicant for almost, well, over a month, 32 days right here. So we're tracking the time it takes, not just for the applicants to do their job, but also those within the jurisdiction as well. So you see here, time in jurisdiction is 15 days, and time with applicant is almost 102 days. So you've got information at your fingertips to help answer those questions from those calls that may come into your jurisdiction from applicants, okay? All right, well, let's go back to our, our home screen here. We actually are at the pre-screen task, and the pre-screen task is something that we need to address. Now, again, I won't go through it, but the goal here for pre-screen is the ability to look at those files that came in and perhaps do something with them in terms of making sure it's the right file. So maybe in that project, if I come over here, you might see on the files list a set of these 23 files that came in, okay? They can step through, make sure it's the right file, make sure it has the right seal from the architect, make sure it's got the north arrow, whatever requirements you have before it's complete, quote unquote, then you can move it on in the next step. Otherwise, you'll have to communicate with the applicant through an easy way of writing a comment to the applicant to do that, okay? All right, let's come back to our form here. We're going to go through the circulation process. How do we route out those files, okay? Here's how we do it. If I come back to our form here, or our projects tab, and look at our tasks tab also while we're here, okay? The tasks tab is going to have a lot on there depending on your workload for the pre-screener or for the plan reviewer or coordinator. Notice on the right-hand side, you've got a due date listed here. These columns right here are for your due dates. If it's in red, they're past due. We sort by highest, medium to low. So at the very top is your highest priority with your past due due date. Okay, helping your users to know which projects are more important to focus on in terms of due dates and priority. Okay, so back to our projects, we are going to focus on how we can assign out reviewers. Okay, at this point, we accept our task to assign them out. And this new window pops up, allowing us to then define which groups or departments need to be involved in the process. And this is an integration point that we have with Cityworks here with PLL. So we can, if those groups are defined within Cityworks, within PLL, we can pull those group definitions and auto check these boxes here, depending on what PLL tells us to check. Okay, so maybe fire, engineering, and perhaps mechanical and parks. So we can invite anybody we need to, whether they're part of your staff at the jurisdiction or not. In fact, right here, this is an external agency we can invite to do the watershed review. Okay, they can be a participant in the workflow just as if they're part of the staff there at their jurisdiction. They get a login, a user account, they can see the file list, they can make comments and corrections, perhaps conditions of approval for planning. It doesn't matter where they reside, they are part of the team just as if they're part of your staff there. Okay. So these assignments can go out like this. Obviously for planning, you might see a different department list for planning. You might see transportation, engineering reviews, civil engineering. You might see other types of specific planning departments for planning review groups, okay? Okay, at this point, I would do a begin review, okay? I won't go through that. I've already got that project queued up into the commenting phase. So right here, I'm gonna go to my commenting project. Now, look what's happened so far. You'll see that I've got a current task assigned to me. I haven't completed it yet, but it's for structural review right here, Okay. Now, as I look at my files, I'll show you what it's like to do a review in Bluebeam using the Bluebeam viewer here. So you notice the column right here is a markup icon for Bluebeam, open in Bluebeam. Let me sort this list by structural. Show me all the files that have the first 4 letters of STRU for structural. I got three that showed up here. All right. I choose the Bluebeam icon. That allows me to then bring that file up inside Bluebeam. Now, in the background, it's loading Bluebeam, loading that file on my desktop, and launching it for me in the viewer. Okay. You'll see it launch out here in just a moment. It's pretty cool because there's no need for the users to have to browse a folder structure on the network or a Google Drive somewhere and have to find the right version. We always make sure that the users who are making comments on files are using the most up-to-date version of that file. Okay, so I will use Bluebeam here. I'm zooming into the location to create an area of interest for the applicant to address. This is my correction area right here. We're missing a column. I'll just quickly draw a little highlighted area there, and maybe do a cloud plus around it to help call it out like this. And I'll put it right up here. And I'll say steel column needed, rotate both columns 90 degrees, okay? Now what I can do is save that comment, but before I do that, I want to make sure I assign it to the right correction layer. Okay, I'm going to create a new layer down here on the bottom left. We're going to call it corrections. Okay, let's make one more comment, shall we? Let's navigate right over here, zoom out just a bit so I can see it. Here we are. The stair landing also is missing supports right here and right here. So again, let's call it out using our tools. Now we'll do a text box. We'll put it right over here. We'll call it stair landing supports. Add them per markup location. Okay. Again, I will define this markup layer to be corrections. Oh, not new layer, sorry. Double click it and choose corrections. There we are. Now it's been assigned in the correct layer, and I can save it now on the top left. It saves that PDF file with those comments burned in, as you know. And on the top right, just close it. We're done. Notice now the icon has changed to an upload icon. Now I can save that markup and import those comments that were made inside Bluebeam and have them stored now within ProjectDox. It's looking for that corrections layer, and any comments that were made on that corrections layer is now going to get pulled out. I'll call this structural review comments and save. Now what's happening is it's saving that markup, pulling in those comments. In fact, on the right-hand side now in my reviewed column, you'll see a red pencil icon right here. Indicates that there have been markups made. That was one we just made right here. Now, on the top left are my tabs. You haven't seen yet the reviews tab. Look at this. On the reviews tab, you'll see my 2 comments I just made in Bluebeam. It also pulled out a larger screenshot of that area for the applicant to know where to focus on in that file. Additionally, we had those comments, those text comments pulled out and placed here now in our comments grid. These are my comments for structural. You see that for department here, structural? If I hit the pull down now, I'm going to see everyone's comments. I see building made some comments, info only. I see also they made some ADA compliance issue comments. So I see building comments, I see fire comments as well. I see external agency comments. Again, you can be part of the staff or not, doesn't matter where you reside, where you work, you can always be part of the process and make comments on files if you're part of that team for that plan review process. Okay, planning made a comment here. And then again, here are my 2 comments for structural. I could also add some library comments. I might want to say, let's make sure that they focus on the trusses and the spacing needs to be whatever I tell them right here, info only. Okay, these are your standard comments that you can apply easily to that correction list or comments list. Here they are right there. Okay. All right, this is a fundamental advantage, I would say, or an efficiency gained when you're using ProjectDox, because now there's no need for anyone to have to gather those comments and aggregate them manually. This all happens under the covers as it goes through the process. as each person or group is making their comments or conditions of approval, they always get saved right here. Okay. If I were to complete my task, I won't do this, but if I complete it, it then goes back to the applicant. After we do our review complete phase by an admin, once they say, yep, it's good, go back to the applicant then will be prompted to do their task. So let's come back in now as an applicant. Okay, so I've got a tab here for respond and resubmit as an applicant. It's their turn now to look at those issues and respond to them. Okay, again, learn how links, how to do their tasks right here as well. Okay, and another one here. These embedded videos are very helpful for your applicants. Now, the first step is review comments. What they can do is look at these issues and address them and respond to them right here in the grid, okay? Or they can say over here, I've got a building link, let's launch it, and now I can load that ADA compliance issue, which happens to be the elevations plan. Here's my issue with grab bars. The details are on the right-hand side over here for grab bars. Applicant can respond to that issue and say, noted and revised drawing. And save response. Watch how it takes them to the next issue on the list. In this case, same file, but now in the sauna area regarding wheelchair access. Again, here is the issue. We need the benches moved back to allow for wheelchair access, and they can respond to it. Done. We are allowing the applicant to easily step through each of these steps. Okay, that's how they would do that response. Now, let me come back to my form here. And I want to show you how that comment gets placed in here automatically. See that? Okay. If I close that down and go back to my form, you'll see other ways to help get answers for those issues from the jurisdiction. Applicant's going to have a team behind them for most large projects. It could be a landscape architect. It might be a structural engineer helping them out, or a fire engineer. They can export this out to Excel, okay? And then look what happens. This is actually the Excel file that you can export and send out to your fire person on your back end helping you. When you click on this fire link, this is what shows up, okay? You're gonna get this kind of a look, this fire drawing right here, and you hover over the note, it tells you what's wrong with it, and now an external person to the applicant on their team can address the issue, go into Excel and respond just like this, okay? Once they respond and give it back to the applicant can easily bring those comments back in by importing the Excel response right here. They browse for the file, it's gonna be my downloads folder, it's right here, they open it, it imports those two responses automatically, okay? And now those responses will show up here in my comments list, okay? In fact, here they are right here. Those fire issues have been updated based on that importing of the Excel file, okay? This is how the applicant can easily address those issues. All right, we're making good time here. I'm going to focus now on the new versions. It's pretty simple. Again, we are versioning management systems so they can upload their new drawings. I'll go ahead and do that quickly with you. My new versions are gonna be in my documents, demo, building demo folder right here, resubmit. So I'll just bring in my elevations, floor plan, and fire suppression. Notice how they're blue. Notice how they've been checked for guideline policies. Upload starts, they get uploaded to the system as version 2, okay? All right, that's the applicant experience for uploading new versions. You see now I now have 3 new files here showing as new versions, okay? They would then complete their steps and submit. That would start cycle 2 then over on the jurisdiction side. The coordinator, the pre-screener would say, yep, we got that package. They would come back in then as a jurisdiction and let's start cycle 2. And now it's time to verify those corrections. Here we are with this verify corrections project, right? They go into the project. Now it's time for them to validate the changes that were made from version 1 to version 2. If I move to the reviews tab, watch this. I now have a verify button right here. So within one click, that's all I have to do. It launches both version 1 and version 2 side by side and allows the plans examiner to validate the changes made by the applicants. In this case, here's version 1, left-hand side. Here's version 2 on the right. Notice that we needed to add grab bars right here. This is version 1, and over here are the grab bars in version 2. As I zoom in one side, both sides zoom in together, okay? We can also do commenting in terms of measurements in our viewer as well, just like you can in Bluebeam, okay? So now I've got these issues resolved. The plans examiner can say great and resolve it, okay? Again, you see the issue that was responded to on the top right by the architect. Up here, you see the architect might have said, are you sure? And they might cite some code on you about why they don't have to do it. There's a discussion that can happen between your jurisdiction and the applicants now on this particular issue regarding the wheelchair access, okay? So it's a great way to really collaborate with, not just with your team on the back end with the jurisdiction, but also with the applicant. At this point, I'm going to show you another way to locate differences, and then we'll finish up with this. I'm going to turn off the markup just so you can see it a little more clearly here. We'll close the markup. And now we're going to show you in color what changed between the two versions, okay? Red was taken away in version 2, and green was added in version 2. So notice here the green and the red. If I move the slide bar right here on the far left bottom to the left, it'll fade out version 2 and remain version 1. This is what we had in version 1. We don't have wheelchair access right here. But you have to move the benches back to allow that. Watch these benches get smaller now as we bring in version 2. I'll move it to the right. It'll fade out version 1 and bring in version 2. And those benches get smaller, allowing now for the new data here, wheelchair access and the circumference is defined and the benches are made smaller. Okay, that's how we can help your team be more efficient in locating the areas that were changed by the applicant. You can now look at the colors and say they changed it here, they changed our grab bars here, but look at this, they also changed right there. Let's zoom in there, and they move, looks like they moved the wall back here and forward over here, so to the right. That's okay, but now you know where to look. You aren't having to just kind of guess where they change things. Now we can show you in color what has changed. That's how you verify the issues that were made by the in version 1 to 2 by the applicant. This workflow then goes on to the final step of payment and bat stamp. Again, where we can go back into Cityworks and see if any fees are due. If they are, we can get those fees paid by the applicant. Once they're paid, we do our bat stamp process. That takes it from beginning to end in terms of approval. We would then communicate all this data back into Cityworks PLL, where Cityworks can then continue on with its current workflow process. I'm going to pass it over to Paul now to complete it with our reporting. I'll choose stop share. Okay, Paul.
Great job, John. Let me just fire this up real quick. So as we're kind of coming to the end of our presentation here, what I wanted to note is, in what John had demonstrated for us, was really the end-to-end process of ProjectDox alongside PLL and Bluebeam. One of the main points that I really want to get across is the technology was really designed, and I hope you saw this through our demonstration, for process automation. And I don't know if you caught in the background, and it's hard to demonstrate within 30 minutes, but John was accepting tasks, and each person or each person who's invited to a project to do something is going to receive a task in ProjectDox. And that's one of the main features and functionality within ProjectDox that allows for some really good reporting on the back end. And so what you're seeing here is, because we're accepting and managing tasks and tracking folks' time of who has what, when they did it, how long they did it for, we're able to produce some powerful dashboards. And I've got a couple to share with you today. One of the most used dashboards that we have is really a coordinator or a supervisor dashboard. We have one designed for a CBO. We have one designed for a community development director. The point of these dashboards is to give the executive team a snapshot on where they are today, as opposed to where they were yesterday. And when it comes to all of the projects that are in flight across their department, how are they meeting their SLAs or their determined timeframes that they have been allotted? And so these reports provide that in real time. So as they come in every morning, they're able to see that. And so you'll see from this coordinator supervisor report that you're able to see your top 10 overdue tasks by department. So this gives you more information to be more proactive as opposed to be reactive when someone calls. Last but not least, as we're in a virtual world today throughout because of the pandemic, there's been a bigger sense on how do I manage my people's workload, or how do I manage my team to ensure that they're not burning out, right? That they don't have too much on their plate. Well, because we're tracking tasks within ProjectDox, we're able to derive reports that'll give the supervisors a chance to see who has the most projects in flight. And while they're having those projects in flight, are they meeting the expectations or the defined timeframes associated with that task? So when you start to think about that, you have the ability to say to yourself, or the team does, how do I load balance, that, somebody's not doing 80% of the work where everybody else is doing nothing? And how do I ensure that even though they're accepting those tasks, that they're not missing the defined timeframes that are associated with those tasks? And so these reports out of the box will allow your executive team to have the insights around that. On top of these, we've got applicant dashboards, we've got dashboards for plans examiners, and we've got dashboards for project by project analysis. So really some powerful stuff to allow the jurisdiction to be more proactive as opposed to reactive, as in somebody calls and says, where's my project? So that concludes our time today. We really appreciated the time that you've given us today to show you how you can leverage and extend the technologies of Cityworks, PLL, and Bluebeam for electronic plan review. If you do have any additional questions, or if you'd like to see a follow-up demonstration of our technology or learn more about our great customers, please feel free to give me a call at my phone number, or send me an email at the email below. We look forward to hearing from you, and thank you again for your time.